Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2022 film Here for Blood, and it's really a 2024 film as far as release goes. It is now streaming on Screambox for anyone who has Screambox or is interested in it. I actually don't have Screambox. I watched this through Vudu, where I just digitally rented it for a little bit over $7. It was like $7 and some change for a rental. I do like to monetarily support these more independent films. So this is a horror comedy. So if you do like horror comedy, I would say this one's pretty solid. I do recommend checking this one out. It was a decent time. It was directed by Daniel Turres, who also did Terry's Car Gets Stolen. Have not seen that, know nothing about it. Written by James Roberts, who did not have any other writing credits. And this is a Canadian horror comedy. So if you like horror comedy, if you like your horror comedy Canadian, there you go. Although, it's not like it's deeply Canadian that you can tell. Synopsis. It's about a semi-pro wrestler, a guy who's trying to make ends meet doing very small wrestling events, but obviously he knows very much what he's doing. Who's having a tough time in life. His girlfriend is a babysitter, and she has a scheduling conflict where she needs to be doing a lot of studying for college. And so she asks if he would take her job, or at least part of her job that night, so she can study, and then she'll eventually show up and take over for him. And he's like, wrestlers don't babysit. Guys don't babysit, because I believe this is kind of set in the 90s. And he gives it a shot, though, because it's doing it for his girlfriend. And it's about his kind of... At first, it's about him getting used to this new role, him kind of awkwardly settling into trying to be a babysitter, but also endearing himself to the audience while he does that very effectively, and also trying to endear himself to the little girl who he is babysitting for. But then this is a horror film, so some things start to go wrong at the house, and I don't want to tip the scale and tell you, what's going on with that, because no spoilers in this review, but it's interesting, it's fun, and I do recommend it. If you like slashers, it'll pull you in from the beginning. Or I should just say, if you like slashers, the opening scene will pull you in. There is a slasher element to the film, but it's not straight up a slasher. I will say that. So if you're one of those people who's just like, I typically don't like slashers, it's not a straight up slashers. And if you are a person who typically does like slashers, there is an aspect of this to satisfy that. So I thought from the opening scene that does really do a good job of grabbing your attention that it was going to be kind of like a straight up slasher focused primarily on the comedy, which would have been fine, but the film tries to do even more, and I think it succeeds in doing even more. My only problem with the even more aspect of it is the fact that I think they go too far with it. Like, they do it for too long, basically. Although, the positive in that, because it's like an hour and 40-some minute movie with credits, and as a horror comedy, do we need an hour and 47 minutes? No. And that becomes very apparent with the film, as it feels like they kind of are retreading some of the same stuff, trying to just continue to be kind of funny and give you some practical effects and stuff like that, so on the good side of things, during the duration, it doesn't drag too much, but there definitely are these times where you're just like, okay, it's starting to feel very samesies right now, and I feel like we're kind of rehashing a lot of this stuff that we've already done, so it should probably be ending. It just definitely feels like it goes on too long, and the ending in particular is very drawn out, unfortunately, but it's not a deal breaker, because, like I said, they do pack some entertainment into the film, while you're still like, it's taking a little while, but, stuff's still kind of funny, still kind of cool, so yeah. There is kind of a range of acting in here. For the most part, I think it's pretty solid. Although there's one character in particular who I didn't think did all that great of a job. And there's also a little bit of like a writing issue with that character too, so I don't know how much of it is the character or the actor themselves or the writing or the combination of the two. But there's a character who becomes aware that one of her friends, like someone she knows, has gone missing, and the reaction to it is not great. So at least part of it is the writing, where she's basically like, oh no, I know this person, they're missing. oh my gosh, what happened? But it literally is that kind of reaction. It's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Okay, anyway, talking about something totally unrelated that's not actually important. And it's just like they just wipe their mind of the fact that this person that they should be very concerned about have gone missing. So those types of issues kind of are within the film, but it's not a ton of them. I do dig the music integration in this movie, especially when it's used to make it kind of like fun and upbeat, which you would expect from a horror comedy. They want you to be engaged in a fun and upbeat way, and I think they do a great job with the music having to do with this film. There's some pretty funny dialogue and fun character interactions. I think for the most part, the character creation and fleshing out who the characters are, pretty good. Not for all the characters, but for some of the characters. Are very interesting, and you would like to see more of them. Also, when those interesting characters get together and start interacting, that is particularly fun as well. I also really love the interactions between, and the relationship that's forged between the main wrestler character, wrestler babysitter guy, and the girl that he's babysitting. Like, it's a really sweet, like, nice relationship that actually grows. They show enough of it that, like, I don't know, it feels real and it feels nice and it feels like cute. So I like that aspect. There are some fun practical effects. They're not the best looking practical effects you've ever seen, because keep in mind, this is like a low budget affair. But for being a low budget affair, I think they're pretty good practical effects, honestly. And they're fun. That's the main word. They are fun practical effects. They really went for it with a lot of things. So if you're someone who likes bloody, gory, ridiculous type practical effects fun, this film has that for you. So thumbs up on that one. I do quite like the relationship between the main character and the young girl. I already said that. There's definitely more to this than you would think. That kind of goes back to what I was saying, where like at first I was like, oh, it's going to be like a straight up slasher. No. Really wasn't expecting them to actually do a lot more with the story, and that really piqued my interest significantly more in the film. Because I was like, oh, it's going to be, I don't even want to say specifically, but it's going to be this one type of film pretty early on. And then not slasher, but this other type of film. And then I was just like, oh, they're starting to throw in some other stuff here. What are they going for? So it gives a little more mystery to it. And there's a little more intrigue that just gets injected into it. And I'm like, okay, they're being kind of ambitious with this. I'm down for it. I did see the ending coming quite early on in the film. I would say within the first 15 minutes, I did figure out some very major stuff that would end up happening at the end of the film, but I also watched the films a little differently. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have picked up on it if I was just watching it for pure pleasure. When I watch a movie for reviewing purposes, I'm like way more attentive and really kind of, my mind's working overtime basically to break things down for myself. So yeah, but I did really see it coming. I think some other people would too, but anyway. The film does go on pretty long for what it is, but it stays relatively fun throughout the entire runtime. So that is that kind of qualifier where it's like, this probably should have been cut down a lot, but the fact that it wasn't cut down, well, not a lot, but it should have been cut down some, probably about 10 minutes or so. But the fact that it wasn't also doesn't kill the experience of the film. So I will say that. But out of 5 stars with half stars in play, this is a quite solid 3-star film. Close to giving it 3.5 stars. I don't think it's quite there yet, but if I was doing like quarters, I'd do like 3.25. But just know that I considered doing the 3.5. It was close, but I'm going to settle on a 3, and I do recommend seeing it if you like horror comedies and this premise sounds fun to you, because it's fun. So anyway, thank you for checking out this video. Do me a favor, help with the YouTube algorithm with the thumbs up on this video if you want to be helpful like that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. That's your best way to repay me, is by showing me, hey, I appreciate this. New subscriber. That'd be great. Very appreciative of that. Also, you can hit the notification bell button, and then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. And comments. Go ahead and comment whatever you want. If you want to talk about this film, you want to talk about something else, and if you've seen this film and you want to comment, you can do spoilers in the comments. That is totally fine. Anyway, thanks everyone who watched. Not everyone in the world, because not a lot of people watch these, but thanks everyone who took their time to watch this. And until next time, keep it brutal.